Please sit down. I think I might need to work on that rolling fanfare bit. I kept catching myself out and forgetting to sing, and then singing when I shouldn't have been. I seem to remember at school, when being in a school play, that if you were on stage and you were supposed to be a crowd, but you didn't actually have any lines to say, you were invited to mutter the word rhubarb quietly, almost under your breath, because it made the sound of a crowd gently babbling amongst themselves. Not that I wish to suggest you are about to babble, but could you please just keep repeatedly saying the word rhubarb now? I go, rhubarb, 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 rhubarb. Thank you very much. Thank you. Could you now please try saying the word rhubarb repeatedly like that, as if you're ever so slightly grumpy? Okay, I'll just give you a moment to get into that mindset. Okay, so lots of grumpy rhubarb, please. I go. Rhubarb, 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 rhubarb. Thank you very much. Now this time, the same again, but if you're angry. I know that you'll find this very hard to imagine, but just think yourself into a situation where perhaps you could possibly be angry. So could we please have lots of, as it were, angry rhubarb? I go, rhubarb, 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 rhubarb. Excellent. You're very, very, very good at that, by which I can only surmise you're excellent actors. This time, please, angry rhubarb and, I can't do this while standing up, lean against here, a sort of gentle tramping of your feet on the floor, as if you're exceedingly angry. So, angry rhubarb with tramping of feet. Ready? Rhubarb, 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 rhubarb. And stop. Those of you in the gallery have a particular advantage on that one. The sound is quite tremendous. Speaking of those of you in the gallery, I make the invitation that you might wish to move into the front row at this point, simply so you can peer gingerly over the edge of the parapet and see what's taking place, because unfortunately I'm not 12'6" tall. It seems to me that often when we read the Bible, and particularly maybe when we read the Gospels, we seem to think that it is all lovely and content and calm, that everything is in control and everything is sweetness and light. And I don't think that's the case. In the reading that we've just heard, I think there's actually quite a lot of aggression going on. Claire and Paul, would you perhaps like to move your chairs and fill this gap here? Thank you very much. Those of you in the front might want to try twisting slightly in your seats, because I'm here for the next few minutes. It says they were all gathered around him. Gathered and then closing in. Feel free to shuffle along the pew this way, if you so wish, as we get further on in the tale. Because he sat there, and it speaks of the crowd, preventing them even from eating. Could you grumble rhubarb in a grumpy voice, please? Rhubarb, 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 rhubarb. I don't think that he was... Keep going. Yeah, just fine. I don't think he was sitting there in a pleasant situation. I think he was sitting there with them being quite grumpy to him, quite aggressive towards him, so much so that they could not even eat. A grumpy world prevents us from reaching communion, either in bread and wine or in fellowship with one another. And then they start denouncing him. They start saying he has Beelzebul. He's the devil. It sounds ever so polite in the translation that we have, but I suggest you add into it every expletive that you could imagine there being in there. I suggest you add into that every sort of derogatory comment about ancestry or race or colour or gender, any argument that you might now be aware of in the world, be it our local community or at large, because that's what's going on here. His family are coming to rescue him because he's being got at. He's being bullied. He's being surrounded by an angry mob. And they're accusing him of everything that we might hear people being accused of now. Nation to nation, individual to individual, people in the school playground, situations where later when a child comes home in tears and said, so-and-so called me this. It then elicits a phone call to the school, and staff and parents alike have to get together and resolve a situation and explain to the children why it's not right, it's not friendly, it's not polite to call people those names. That's what's going on here. But it's between people who should know better, who've already been told that you shouldn't call names. And it gets worse. Could we please have angry rhubarb with stamping? Thank you. Keep going and place yourself in your mind in the midst of this, with a crowd all around you and leaning over you, a crowd that is baying for your blood, that is egging one another on to have a go at you, to be aggressive to you. Who's going to be the one to throw the first punch? Who's going to be the one to push him and pull him to the ground? Who's going to be the one to go beyond words? So what does Jesus do? Well, he doesn't appease them. He doesn't attack them either. And neither does he run away. He takes their argument and he turns it round and points out the flaws. If a house is divided against itself, it's going to fall. If an army is divided against itself, it's going to fail. If Satan is divided against himself, well, where's that going to go? You say, I've been casting out demons. Well, the only way to cast out demons is to first tie up their boss. So yes, if I've been casting out demons, I must have tied up Satan himself. Now there's a thought. Could you all please stand? Oh, I'm terribly sorry. You're all out. I didn't say Simon Says. Please sit down and we'll start again. Claire, I need your assistance for this one. Paul, if I could stand where you are. There you go. Simon Says, would you please stand?
Please sit down.
Oh, very good. Oops.
Simon Says, please sit down. Please wave.
Oh, that was a bit sneaky.
A few.
Simon Says, please wave. Please, Simon Says, please stop waving.
Please put your right hand up. I can't catch them.
Simon Says, please put your right hand up.
Simon Says, please pat your head. Please stop patting. Simon Says, please stop patting. Simon Says, please smile at your neighbour.
Simon Says, please shake hands with your neighbour. This could take some time.
Mightn't it? Simon Says, please give yourselves a round of applause.
The collar and the stole that Claire and I wear gives us a symbol of authority to say that you as the church and the church beyond these walls has said we can preach, we can preside, we can bless, baptize, and in God's name pronounce forgiveness. It's a symbol of us having authority in the eyes of the church. Similar to having a driving license giving you permission to drive a car, or a doctor permission to prescribe medication for the curing of the body and the mind. If you attribute to us authority to play that silly game, then we can all play that game together. If you choose not to, then you opt out of the game yourself. You take yourself out of it, and arguably, you've committed an undoable act, or what in the gospel was described as an unforgivable sin. Not in terms of playing Simon Says, but I can't give you permission to rejoin the game if you won't let me have the authority to do so. So if you won't give us the authority to lead, I can't give you the authority to come back in. heaven forfend, but make that game into an eternal gift. And we do the same to God if we do or don't give him authority in our life. If we give God the authority to lead us and bless us and guide us and cast out all the wiles of Satan before us, he can do so. If we don't let God be God, then we choose to opt out of that relationship. That's what I think is going on in that peculiar bit in the heart of that gospel. An unforgivable sin, it's us simply denying God the right and the power to be God. Jesus took their anger, he took their aggression, which probably was born of fear. Fear, could they really hope that life could be good? And he turned it round. He didn't hit them with it, he just opened it up and said, look at something better. How about believing that God has conquered all evil? How about trusting that therefore the hope that you see for a greater life is real? And how about then recognizing that as one family we can support and encourage one another to live that greater life? We all have needs, we all have fears, we all have hopes, we all have dreams. How about we all help one another to fulfill them? For whoever does the will of God is my brother, my sister, my mother, my aunt, my uncle, my second cousin, twice removed, and that strange relation who I've never quite worked out what relation they are, but I love them nevertheless because they're beautiful and they inspire me. Don't shut God out of your life. Don't shut your neighbour out of your life. Let's work together and lead a life that is full of blessing. Because God has the sense, the power, the skill, the love to cast out of our life and our path any of the wiles of the devil and reveal to us a glory that enables us to share together and to meet in his name and bless his world with hope. So, thank you for giving us authority to play a silly game. Thank you for speaking grumpy and angry rhubarb into the heart of this building today. And may God bless you this day and always in the fellowship of his loving family and his church. Thank you for your loving welcome to us. Amen.